Remember when Darth Vader went to Mustafar to kill the entire Separatist Council? Well, even though we had many important people there, like Poggle the Lesser, Stan Hill, Wat Tambor, and more, the only death we really saw is that of Newt Gunray. And while it turns out the novelization goes into much more depth on how each of them were murdered by Anakin, which I'll be discussing today. Starting with what the book says about how Vader was able to infiltrate the bunker on Mustafar, this is in chapter 19 of the Revenge of the Sith novel by Matthew Stover. Basically it says that Vader arrived in the green hyperspace ring of his new Eta-class interceptor, which he had gotten after the Battle of Coruscant. Then, after flying into the ash-filled atmosphere, Lord Vader would go to the Techno-Union mining installation on the planet where the Separatist Council resided. This complex was in theory impenetrable unless, like Vader, you had deactivation codes which let him slip right past the defenses and touch down on the landing platform. Right before this, all battle droids on every planet had been ordered back to their transports and resocketed, which thus practically ended the Clone War. Palpatine's hologram would promise the Separatists that Lord Vader would take care of them. Then Vader would walk in and Stan Hill would run up to him with an outstretched hand saying,
"On behalf of the banking clan, let me be the first to..."
Vader would respond with,
"Very well, you will be the first."
Then he would slam the blast doors with his hand and destroy the control panel in a storm of sparks. Vader would then throw back his hood. Stan would gasp out in shock.
You're Anakin Skywalker."
Before Vader would slice him with his blue lightsaber, which would carve a loop through his 3 different hearts, and then the Council was terrified as Darth Vader says,
"The resemblance to Anakin is deceptive."
So while Stan Hill was killed by a jab at his chest, how about the fates of the other members? Well, for Poggle the Lesser, he was scrambling in panic through the group of severed legs and heads, whimpering until a lightsaber would clear his head free of his neck. Shu Mai, the CEO of the Commerce Guild, who is that one character that looks like a shriveled up raisin, was crying tears looking up from her knees. This makes it sound like she was crouched on the ground, huddling her own legs. She would plead with Vader, saying that they were promised a handsome reward. Vader would say,
"I am your reward. Don't you find me handsome?"
before stabbing her head and then cutting her head off, with the novelization specifically stating that her brain-burned head tumbled to the floor. Wat Tambor and a few Neimoidians would go to the conference room, running along a hallway, tripping as they did, but Anakin would be in no hurry as this was a dead end. Vader walked down the hallway, slowly savoring the feel of his lightsaber cutting into the wall with the smell of charred alien flesh. He would then find a closed door at the end of the hallway. Offended by such a meager defense, he would bring his gloved hand into a fist and punch the door down and then step over it. Rune Heiko, who served as chair to Viceroy Newt Gunray in The Phantom Menace and up until now, would trip over a chair in the conference room in his escape from Vader. He would hide under the table before pleading that they surrender and that Vader can't just kill them. But Vader would say,
"Can't I?"
telling him that they waged a war against the Jedi, and would stab him through the mouth, concluding with,
"Congratulations on your success."
Next, Vader would go up to Wat Tambor, who was clawing at the transparasteel wall, and would offer to give Vader anything at all. Vader would cut off his arms and then head, responding with,
"Thank you."
Then Vader would move to the last CIS member, who, as hiding in an alcove, that's being Newt Gunray. He would have a similar line to what we hear in the movie.
"The war is over. Lord Sidious promised us peace."
Vader would say,
"The transmission was garbled. He said you would be left in pieces."
And then he would lift up his blade to strike the man who had tried to kill his wife Padme multiple times throughout the years, and also took control of her homeworld of Naboo 13 years prior. Oh, and in Legends, Palpatine had kept his comlink on in secret this whole time, watching the whole scene from his office. Now before we end the video, we have to look at how accurate these written deaths are to what we see in the movie, and if any of this was filmed and is still available in, like, I don't know, deleted scenes or stills that are around to this day. One big inconsistency is the opening of the scene, in which in the original Vader slowly closes each of the doors, and it is actually Newt Gunray rather than Stan Hill who greets the keeper of their reward. In the novelization version though, Anakin slams the doors shut and also explodes the control panel, with it of course being Sand Hill, who not only greets Vader, but also runs right up to him and is killed first. As from what I can see here, it doesn't actually appear that he dies at any point in the original scene, but I could be wrong on that. Also, Rune Heiko dies in a different spot. Scratch that. Apparently this is a different guy, perhaps Lushros Dauphine from the Invisible Hand. Okay, nope, I'm going back and editing this again. According to legends, it's actually a different Neimoidian altogether, named Ito Laugh. What kind of name's that? Anyway, but we can actually see Rune Heiko's body on the floor during the Anakin versus Obi-Wan fight, suggesting that perhaps he was killed off screen. Puggle actually has a huge chunk of his chest cut off with his head, rather than how the book says, clean off his neck. And Wat Tambor never closes any door in this scene, nor does he appear stumbling along or clawing at the walls, but rather sitting at the end of the conference table, because Wat Tambor is just a dog like that. I mean, everyone else is pleading with their lives. Wat Tambor's like, you know what? I'm just gonna sit in this chair, bro, and if he kills me, he will. Afterwards, when he goes to kill Newt Gunray, the Separatist has a very similar yet longer line, where after saying,
The war is over. Lord Sidious promised us peace.
he then says,
We only want...
before being interrupted with his intentions never being revealed. My theory is that he was going to say either we only wanted to end this war or we only wanted independence, but I don't know that for sure and I couldn't find any sources as to what he was going to say here. Maybe no one knows except George Lucas. Also, the book says the main control center is located on the largest of the buildings, which look like poisonous mushrooms, even though in the movie though, that part of the facility isn't located on one of those structures, but rather is built into the side of a mountain. Now, admittedly there is one of those buildings right above it, so maybe that's what it's talking about, but it kind of sounded like in the book that meant it was coming off the side, which isn't true at all. As far as deleted scenes though, based off of these two pictures, it would appear that an extended version of this moment was going to show Vader killing Wat Tambor, who would hold out his hands in terror, but in the filmed version it appears Vader would stab Tambor through the top of his head, which is of course different to in the novelization, where he has his arms and then head cut off in two slices. Also, you can see his body later on laying on the ground, where he clearly still has his head and arms connected to him. There's a picture of Anakin killing armored Neimoidian guards as well, which wasn't seen in the film. Also, this comic of Anakin killing the Separatist Council follows this vaguely, with Sand Hill and Poggle the Lesser getting similar deaths to what we learn about here, but Shu Mai doesn't get stabbed in the head, and Wat Tambor dies in a different location. This comic is the Star Wars Episode 3 comic adaptation, and unlike in the movie version, Vader has many quips and jokes he makes here while slaughtering them, similar to the Vader we get later on, but in my opinion that doesn't really work here considering how emotionally distraught Anakin should be right now in this moment. Because while I definitely believe he's fully Vader at this point, as we see him crying without Sith eyes later, I mean there's obviously still some Anakin left in him and he's still conflicted and stuff like that, so I really feel like that just doesn't really feel appropriate for him to be making jokes now. But anyway, that's it for this video. You can subscribe if you want to. There is a spring drop of merch that's kind of wrapping up here. Actually, the day after this video comes out, if it is May 31st, then there will be a new summer drop for the Blue Bounty Hunter store. Check that out if you want some really chill summer clothes that are designed for Star Wars fans specifically. Yeah, thanks for watching. I appreciate you guys sticking with me through all the years. Anyway, I'm looking forward to posting even more this summer since I should have more time without school and all of that going on. Yeah, I upload every Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I post shorts every Saturday and Sunday. But yeah, see ya.